Hello, welcome to our showcase. We are Honey Caranzo,
and Ceci Martin-Smith.
here to present the Working Caregiver Survey project.
Do you work and have aging parents? Or do you work and have a grown child who is still on your medical plan?
Do you work and are responsible for young children? Do you work and provide care to a friend or family member with a medical condition?
If any of these scenarios resonate with you, you are a working caregiver.
We define a working caregiver as a working person who regularly looks after and or supports financially and or provides benefits for another person.
The plight of working caregivers matters to us because of our own stories. Honey will share hers first.
This project matters to me because while I do not have kids or aging parents, it is something I know will happen in the future. I am Asian American. I was born in the Philippines, where it is expected to have your grandparents live with your parents. As part of my culture, I plan on keeping up with that tradition. I am fortunate to work for a company who views family very highly and who gives me the opportunity to utilize benefits that I recognize others who are working caregivers do not have. And I believe that those benefits that help working caregivers, like maternal, paternal, flexible work arrangements, and many more, should be benefits that are available to everyone.
This project is important to me as an older millennial. I'm considered part of the sandwich generation. With both aging parents and young children, I have growing obligations as a caregiver. Luckily, I work for an employer who provides generous benefits and flexibility, but I realize not all people do. When Honey and I first introduced this project to our Thrive cohort, I was surprised by how many people did not consider themselves caregivers. I think it's important to recognize the growing numbers of working caregivers in our community and their needs in order to retain a strong workforce.
We hypothesized that working caregivers face challenges. We wanted to find out if employers see value in providing support to working caregivers and what working caregivers find helpful. We deployed a survey on September 5th asking for responses from people in the Tulsa community. So far, we have received 35 responses.
The goals of the Working Caregivers Survey are to collect data about the benefits and supports currently provided to working caregivers by their employers. Also, to collect data from working caregivers about how they are supported or could be supported by their employers. And lastly, to share the results with the community to inform best practices.
We want you to take this information and do good. Are you inspired to gather more data, conduct another survey, or help highlight this issue? Are you inspired as an employer to offer more support to your working caregiver employees? Are you a working caregiver who is inspired to advocate for the needs of other working caregivers?
We are eager to share our survey data with anyone who is interested and can provide more details about the results during our Q&A. Thank you.
All right. Before we bring them on, I've been getting some feedback that the live feed keeps cutting in and out. And I apologize for that, but there's nothing I can do while it's happening. So, at least from my experimenting, if when it says it's not working, if you hit try again, it automatically comes back on. So hopefully that works. So now we are going to bring on Cecilia and Honey. Hello. Well, first let us unmute you two. Yes, there we go. All right, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, sorry, I'm seeing every time the stream cuts out now, so I'm gonna turn that off because that's gonna drive me nuts. So, I mean, this is important. Like, Ceci, you mentioned the fact that you feel like you're in the sandwich generation, and that was one of the reasons I moved back to Tulsa, which was, my parents were getting older and they were having health problems, and I couldn't stand not being able to deal with those problems where I was living. And I know that's a huge problem that's going to be coming, in the future for a large group of Americans. So my first question is, with this survey, is this one of those situations where you have a hypothesis ahead of time of what that survey is going to say? You just want to confirm that hypothesis, or are you leaving it open to see if it is what it is?
I would say that it's a little bit what you were saying, where we were trying to confirm our thoughts and feelings about this because obviously we have our personal biases and kind of how we feel about the topic. We obviously wouldn't pick this up as a topic if it wasn't something that kind of touched our lives and that we have strong opinions about. So we were trying to get a gauge on what other people would respond to the survey. Because as I mentioned, when we first brought up the topic, there were a lot of people in the Thrive cohort who didn't even necessarily think of themselves as caregivers. So it was kind of, a little bit of an effort to confirm and see if this is work that would be worthwhile forward.
So how do you reach people who don't necessarily think of themselves as caregivers?
Mm-hmm. Honey, did you want to respond?
Yeah. So when we deployed the survey, we tried to reach out to different facets of the community to try to get an overall.
Oh, we lost you, honey, for a second.
Oh,
There we go.
okay. Should I repeat my?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we deployed the survey, we tried to reach out to different facets of the community. And so we also had a question that was more so targeted to ask them again if they were considered a working caregiver. We gave them a definition. And a lot of people did actually answer, yes, we were. So it took them back to the survey.
You also mentioned that you're trying to see what companies are doing to support working caregivers. What kind of things do companies offer today that you've seen to help working caregivers?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it kind of runs everything. The responses that we saw, it was everything from the typical, health benefits, dental, vision, those kinds of things. But then some more people were responding. We were seeing some responses of people saying that they had family leave and more flexibility in their work and work from home. But then we did see some people saying that they had absolutely no benefits that seemed to, when we asked if there were any that seemed to specifically support working caregivers. So it really ran the gamut. And then also one thing that Honey and I have discussed after we kind of conducted our survey, because it was the first time we've done something like this, is that two things being that we would like to reach a wider group of people. Obviously our sample size is really, really small, but reach a wider and more diverse group of people, but also to get more specific demographics from the people who responded from the HR professional perspective on the size of their companies and things like that, because we didn't get that granular. And we're wondering now if that would have made a difference. If a smaller company isn't able to provide as generous benefits as maybe a bigger corporation or something like that. So
before we ask something, all right, well, I'm gonna bring Ceci and Honey back on. Okay, we have people theoretically watching again, so
Yay.
hopefully the feed is better. And for the people watching, we apologize. It's technology. It's pandemic. Let's just roll with it. So the full video, which will have to be stitched together by me later, will be available to all probably over the weekend. So.
Jesse loves editing. He loves it. So
I'm
actually really excited about this.
Especially video editing, which is definitely my specialty. It does not take me an incredibly a long amount of time to do it. All right. Anyway, so Ceci and Honey, how can people help you? Right?
Honey, you want to go?
Yeah, so we have this survey and it's available for anyone that would like it. We can also give you the raw survey, the formatting of the questions that's available to you. We would like you to take on this mantle, take it to your employers look at it and view it and see what you can do to provide for your employees, anything that you would like to do. Ceci, do you have anything to add?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I mean, this is something where I guess it's kind of a shameless plug, but Honey and I fully want this project to be something that other people help us carry forward. This is just in the stage of being the tiniest glimmer of an idea. So it's very, very early on, but we really see different angles for this work from everywhere, from people who are caregivers themselves, who are advocating for the flexibility they need and to remain in the workforce, because that's important, but also people who have the power as an employer to provide supports to working caregivers, and also just for people in general to understand that the idea of a caregiver isn't just somebody who maybe is caring for somebody who is chronically ill, but that a caregiver can be somebody who is just responsible for somebody else. So we look at it with a much broader definition because it really does affect a lot more people than you think. So.
I want to tell the people watching that we are still having technical difficulties. I tried something where we are not sending the feed to so many places, and hopefully that might help over time. Also, I'm going to do something else. So, Chris, ask them a question while I do this.
So, did you expect so many technical difficulties while you were doing your presentation?
Well, as somebody who has to conduct virtual onboarding as part of my job, I will say I have experienced all of this and then some. So it's super fun, our new reality.
One serious question though. So I mean, do you have like an idea of like a dream project that might come out of this?
I don't know, honey. That's a good question.
I guess more so like either take it all the way up to, you know, maybe a political way or even just an advocacy group to help working caregivers and to bridge the gap between the employers and the employees. I think that would be nice.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree. I think just more connection amongst the different, I think that we're starting to recognize that the idea of a caregiver has a much more diverse group of people who are serving in that role. You're really starting to see it's like everything from boomers down to even Gen Z now are serving as caregivers, whether it's to children, parents, family members. I mean, it runs the gamut. So just creating more networks for all of those people. So it doesn't seem like, oh, caregiving is just something that, you know, oh, an older person does for their elderly parents, or a caregiver role is something that somebody does just for their young children, but to recognize that there's a lot of diversity and needs, especially when it's a working caregiver, and that it's so valuable to keep those people in the workforce because they truly are an asset to our employers, and just figuring out a way so that employers can provide these supports in a meaningful and reasonable way, right? So that they can still be, you know, maintain the strength of their organizations and agencies.
Thank you guys.